The sun was dipping behind distant trees, painting the lonely road in shades of dark orange. The wind carried a chill, the kind that whispers trouble. Ethan, a young, struggling mechanic, dragged his toolbox along the dusty roadside. His hands were stained with grease, his shirt soaked in sweat. In his pocket, he had only $15, the entirety of his life savings. He had traveled hours to fix a client's car, only to find the car wasn't there. As he sighed and turned to leave, something caught his eye. At first he thought it was a bag, then he saw the shoe, a woman's shoe. His heart tightened. He ran toward the bushes and found a young woman lying there, half hidden by the wild grass. Her hair was tangled, her clothes dirty, and a thin trail of blood ran down her forehead. She was unconscious, her pulse faint but alive. Fear surged in Ethan's chest. He was poor. He had no car, no connections, no hospital contacts. But something stronger than fear pushed him forward. He couldn't leave her. Ethan lifted her carefully. Her body felt almost weightless, yet every step burned his muscles. He staggered, sweat pouring, as he carried her toward the main road. After nearly 20 minutes, a passing bus slowed down. "Stop!" he shouted, waving frantically. The driver hesitated, then opened the door. They rushed her to the nearest hospital. Ethan stayed outside, dirty, hungry, heart pounding. Finally, a nurse emerged. "She will live," she said. Relief and tears overwhelmed him. Ethan's life had always been a struggle. His father died when he was 16, leaving his mother, Mrs. Ruth, to work tirelessly for them. She washed clothes, cleaned houses, sold vegetables, borrowed money, never complaining. She sacrificed everything so Ethan could study. Ethan got into university to study engineering, but money was scarce. His mother sold her jewelry, even her wedding ring, to pay tuition. He almost dropped out several times, but her words kept him going. "Son, this suffering will not follow us forever." After graduating, Ethan struggled for 7 years, facing rejection after rejection. Eventually, he sold his laptop to learn mechanic work, humbling himself to survive. And it was that path that led him to the unconscious woman in the bushes. He used his last dollars to buy her food and medicine. He washed her clothes and slept on a chair outside her room. Days later, she opened her eyes. "Who are you?" she whispered. "My name is Ethan," he said softly. "You're safe now." She managed a weak smile and said, "I'm Grace." Ethan didn't know that Grace was the daughter of one of the wealthiest men in the city. He only knew someone needed help, and his small act of kindness was about to change everything. Grace didn't remember how she ended up in the bushes. As she grew stronger, she stayed in Ethan's small apartment, helping with chores and sharing meals. For the first time in years, Ethan didn't feel alone. Outside the city, a storm was brewing. Mr. Richard Stone, Grace's father and a powerful businessman, was frantic. His only daughter had vanished. He had searched everywhere, roadblocks, cameras, investigators, yet she was gone. Meanwhile, Grace began to trust Ethan, and slowly a connection formed. She told him, "I don't want to go back yet, not like this, I need time." Ethan agreed silently, unaware that her decision would change both their lives forever. Days passed, and Grace's memory returned in fragments: a car, a driver, an argument. One morning, she whispered, "I know who I am. My father is Mr. Richard Stone." Ethan's heart stopped. The girl he rescued, fed, and cared for was the daughter of the richest man in the city. Fear rushed through him, but Grace held his hand and said, "I don't want to go yet. Please stay." That night, Ethan lay on his mattress, staring at the ceiling of his small apartment. For the first time, he realized that life had just handed him a chance beyond imagination. A billionaire's daughter was safe because of him, a struggling mechanic, and destiny had only just begun. Grace's revelation shook Ethan's world. She was the daughter of Mr. Richard Stone, one of the most powerful men in the city. Grace's simple apartment suddenly felt like a tiny island in the middle of a storm. Ethan's heart raced. He had always dreamed of stability, but he never imagined living in a world so far beyond his reach. Yet when Grace smiled at him, weak but sincere, he knew he couldn't let fear control him. "I don't care who I am," she said softly. "I only care about the person who saved me." Ethan swallowed hard. unsure if he had the courage to face the world she came from. Meanwhile, Mr. Stone's mansion was filled with tension. His bodyguards had scoured every alley, every street, yet there was no sign of Grace. He was furious, worried, and confused. "Where is she?" he shouted to his assistants. "She cannot just disappear. She is my daughter." Mr. Stone had built his empire with discipline and control, yet his control over his daughter had failed him. He didn't understand how Grace could have vanished without a trace. Back in her temporary home with Ethan, Grace slowly regained her strength. She shared small details of her life, her favorite books, her love for painting, the way she liked morning walks in the park. Ethan listened, fascinated. He was drawn not to her wealth but to her courage, her warmth, and her trust in him. Ethan began to teach her small things about his world: how to fix cars, how to bargain at the market, how to live simply but fully. Grace laughed, and for the first time in her life she didn't feel trapped by rules or expectations. One evening, Grace insisted Ethan see her father's world. She didn't want him to be afraid of it forever. She arranged a visit to her father's estate, but only as a passerby. As they approached the mansion, the towering gates loomed like walls of gold. Guards eyed them suspiciously. Grace held Ethan's hand, whispering, "Just follow me. Everything will be fine." Inside, the estate was like a palace. Luxurious chandeliers, polished marble, and priceless paintings filled every corner. Ethan felt out of place, but determined not to let it show. They spent the day exploring the gardens and the estate grounds. Grace whispered secrets about her father, stories of wealth, power, and responsibility. Ethan realized that money could buy comfort, but it couldn't buy freedom or trust. Suddenly, a tall man in a crisp suit approached them. His presence alone made Ethan's heart pound. It was Mr. Richard Stone. "Grace?" His voice was sharp, but there was fear beneath it. Grace ran to him, tears in her eyes. Ethan stepped back, unsure of how to act. "Father," Grace said softly, "I'm safe. I've been with Ethan." Mr. Stone turned to Ethan, his gaze piercing. "Who are you?" I'm Ethan, sir. I saved Grace." Mr. Stone studied him. Wealth, power, and arrogance radiated from him, but beneath it, Ethan saw a hint of respect in Mr. Stone's eyes. "You saved my daughter," he said slowly. "Then you have my gratitude, and my warning. You must treat her well." Ethan left the mansion that night with Grace. The city lights blurred as he drove her home. He felt the weight of the coming storm. He was a simple man, and her world was vast, dangerous, and full of expectations he had never imagined. Grace looked at him and said, "Ethan, I don't care about my wealth anymore. What matters is that I want to be with you. If you'll let me." Ethan's heart pounded. Love had arrived, but so had responsibility. The world outside would not let them be free so easily. That night, Ethan sat on the rooftop of his tiny apartment. He looked at the city skyline, glittering with lights, and whispered, "I'll protect her, no matter what." Little did he know danger was already coming, not from strangers but from the people who believed Grace should never belong to a man like him. The storm was not over. It was only beginning. Ethan and Grace's peaceful moments were short-lived. Rumors of their closeness had already reached the high walls of Mr. Stone's social circle. Wealthy friends, distant relatives, and business partners watched Grace like hawks, deciding who she should be with, not who she loved. One evening, as Ethan walked Grace home, a sleek black car stopped by the street. A well-dressed man stepped out, his eyes cold and calculating. "Ethan Parker?" he asked Shah. "Reply. You don't belong to this world." Ethan's fists clenched. He didn't know the man's full intentions, but he felt instinctively that this was a warning. Grace grabbed his hand. "Don't scare me like this," she whispered. Ethan nodded, determined. "No one will hurt you, Grace. I promise." Soon after, Mr. Stone summoned Ethan to the mansion. The tension in the air was palpable. "Ethan," Mr. Stone said, his tone stern, "I admire your courage, but Grace belongs to a world you may never fully understand." Ethan looked him in the eyes. "Sir, I may not have money or status, but I have something your wealth cannot buy. I will protect her, love her, and never let her feel small or unsafe. Mr. Stone was silent for a moment. His pride and his love for his daughter clashed. Finally he said, "Then prove it. The world you're entering is not kind to outsiders." The following weeks tested Ethan and Grace in ways they had never imagined. High society events, extravagant galas and business meetings surrounded Grace with people who questioned her choices, whispered behind their backs, and tried to intimidate Ethan. Ethan struggled at first, feeling awkward among suits, jewelry, and polite smiles hiding sharp intentions. But Grace's confidence gave him strength. Together, they attended events, faced insults, and earned the respect of a few sincere allies who admired their honesty and courage. Not everyone accepted their bond. Evelyn, a distant cousin of Grace and an ambitious socialite, plotted to separate them. She spread rumors, manipulated situations, and tried to turn Grace's father against Ethan. One evening, at a charity gala, Evelyn confronted Grace openly. "You don't deserve high M," she sneered. "You're not of our world. He'll regret wasting his life with you." Grace held her head high. "I don't care about your approval. I care about love, and I've already found it." Ethan, standing beside her, felt a surge of pride. "We may come from different worlds, but our hearts are the same." The tension reached a peak when an accident threatened Grace's safety during a business outing. A car lost control and swerved dangerously close. Without thinking, Ethan jumped in front of her, taking the impact on his shoulder. Grace screamed, but Ethan smiled weakly. "I told you, I'll protect you, always." This moment changed everything. Mr. Stone, who had watched from a distance, finally realized that Ethan's courage and love were genuine. Gradually, Ethan earned the respect of Mr. Stone and even some of the social circle. His sincerity, bravery, and kindness could not be denied. One evening, at the mansion, Mr. Stone approached Ethan. "You've proven yourself, Ethan. Not by wealth, not by status, but by heart. You are worthy of Grace." Tears welled up in Grace's eyes as she hugged Ethan. "We did it," she whispered. "We survived their world together." Ethan and Grace's love grew stronger with every challenge. They learned that wealth and status meant little without trust, courage, and love. Eventually, Mr. Stone gave his full blessing. They married in a beautiful ceremony surrounded by friends, family, and genuine allies. Grace's smile shone brighter than any chandelier in the mansion. Ethan's humble strength had earned him a place in her world, but he never forgot his roots. Together, they built a life full of love, respect, and kindness. They faced obstacles with company, courage, and stood tall against jealousy, betrayal, and social pressure. On their wedding night, Ethan and Grace stood on the balcony looking at the city lights. "Different worlds," Grace whispered, "but the same heart." Ethan held her close. "And nothing can ever take that away." Love, courage, and loyalty had conquered wealth, status, and jealousy. Their story became a reminder. True love is not about riches or titles. It's about heart, trust, and the courage to face the world together. If you enjoyed this story, give us a like, share with your friends, and subscribe to our channel. Until next time, stay strong, stay kind, and stay blessed.